two kids on me, so they just landed and went right on me. And I had to watch the soap run for it.
Once a year, they open his tomb and use a sponge to soak up the liquid around the bones before squeezing it into a bottle. You see, the saint was buried over 1,000 years ago, but legend says a mysterious liquid appeared in his tomb and pooled around his bones. So his followers mixed it with holy water and gave it to sick people to heal them. When scientists tested it, they found it was mostly just water and minerals. But regardless, it's still used for healing to this day. Once a year, they open his tomb and use a sponge. His cat was tragically killed by a car, so naturally, he decided to skin it and preserved its hide with chemicals. Next, he built a custom frame with 4 propellers, then stretched the hide over it and positioned it so the weight stayed centered and the propellers could spin. At first, it tilted to one side, but when he adjusted the weight again, the cat finally lifted off the ground. He later did the same with a rat and an ostrich, turning them all into drones. His cat was tragically killed by a car, so I really wanted to project. The tubes are filled with water, which travels to a tank that sits on top of the boat. And when a candle is lit underneath, some of the water turns to steam, which creates an expanding bubble in the tank. This forces water out of the end of the boat. But since the pipes are cooler than the tank, the air shrinks again and moves back toward the tank, sucking in water from the lake. The air expands again when it heats up and shrinks once it cools down. And this constant movement pushes the boat along without any moving parts. The two penguins fell in love and spent 10 years courting each other until one day she suddenly dumped him for a younger male. This broke his heart and left him completely alone in his old age. But when the zoo ran a promotion for an anime, they placed a cardboard cutout from the show in his enclosure.
There's an app called...
His wife was sitting beside him. The kids were sleeping. The sacks would be inserted.
I can realize...
If you grew a 1-year-old to the same size as Shaq, it would stretch up to 7 feet tall and weigh over 300 pounds. To feed it, you would need over 10 times the amount of baby food, with a jug of milk at every meal. And because it could pee up to 10 pounds a day, you would have to buy hundreds of XXL diapers to change it. But with a bigger mouth, it would have a much stronger bite, which could be dangerous. And if it tripped and fell on you, well, it probably wouldn't end well. If you grew a 1-year-old to he dunked them under the water, but he didn't see the crocodile creeping towards him as he moved to the next person waiting, and it shot out of the water towards the man. Its jaws bit into his back and legs as he tried to escape. Fishermen rushed in with nets and managed to pull the man away, but it was too late. By the time they reached him, he had already died. He dunked them under the water. Fold the paper diagonally both ways to make an X, before folding it in half lengthwise and crosswise. Then flatten out the paper before pressing it into a triangle. Next, flip up one corner and tuck it into the center, twisting it to make a wing. Repeat this for all sides and blow into the tip to inflate it. Finally, flatten out the wings to make a spinning paper balloon. Fold the paper diagonally both ways to... When an elephant collapses, some herds stop walking and stand quietly around her as she dies, reaching down with their trunks and trying to lift her back up. But when she does finally die, they touch her body again and again, and will sometimes even cover it with branches and dirt. Now, weeks later, if they pass her bones, they will stop and gently touch them as a way to recognize her remains. When an elephant collapses,
Mango, 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 mango.
if you press chocolate ice cream against vanilla ice cream, for some reason, it's like they perfectly transfer over without mixing. And this happens because they don't slide smoothly apart. The surfaces stick together. And as the ice cream pushes past each other, some of it starts stretching, forming a thin layer that clings to the other scoop. When the two cones get pulled apart, the layer tears, and you get left with matching patches that look completely unmixed. If you could scale an onion to over 600 feet wide, you would need chainsaws to slice off the top. Then flip it stem side down with huge cranes and cut it into 16 sections, pulling the layers outward with thick cables until it fully blooms. Next, use a helicopter to cover it with 800 tons of flour before using fire trucks to spray on eggs and milk, and topping it with even more flour. Finally, fill a crater with boiling oil and lower the onion inside. When you take it back out,
Oopsies. Yes.
he stumbled drunk.
Know that if you wake up at 3 a.m. and go to the kitchen and scream,
What am I doing? Wait. I'm set something up. Okay.
inside. When you take it back,
Yeah, wait, how did I get two weapons out of the chest? That's impossible.
live stream tips you can't miss.
Some of you have been asking me how to read the comments on the headset while I am streaming.
You won't believe what I...
How do you see your Twitch chat while streaming? You prop up your phone or tablet.
Fall back, fall back, fall back, fall
I'll
back,
just
fall
do
back.
it this way.
You died when we were back.
What?
This little thing would have required to spin us. Only if it was under the...
Okay, say you've just started multi-streaming on...
Yes.
Share your screen on live.
Nah. Let's get back.
The sacs would be inserted inside your wrists, with small openings right before your palms. Your bones would also be thickened with steel rods, and your joints reinforced with braces. Every time you ate, the sacs would spin the protein in your food, hardening it to liquid silk. And when you flicked your wrist, your muscles would flex, squeezing the sac to shoot the silk out. But even though it might stick to a building, it would probably just snap under your weight. The sacs would be inserted inside your wrists with small opening. If you grew a he dunked them under the water, but he didn't see the crocodile creeping towards him as he moved to the next person waiting, and it shot out of the water towards the man. Its jaws bit into his back and legs as he tried to escape. Fishermen rushed in with nets and managed to pull the man away, but it was too late. By the time they reached him, he had already died. He dunked them under the water, but he didn't see.
Right. Yeah, you.
He dunked them. Fold the paper diagonally both ways to make an X before folding it in half.
But what am I doing? Come on, bro. Come on. Stupid thing. I was.
The chimp learned sign language as she grew up and was treated like part of the family. But when she tried to have babies of her own, they both tragically died. After that, she stopped eating and barely talked to her owners, except to make the sign for baby over and over again. Years later, a volunteer got pregnant, and the chimp was fascinated by her growing belly and constantly asked about the child. But just like the chimp, the woman tragically lost her baby. When they saw each other again, the woman explained, "My baby died." The chimp looked her in the eyes, then slowly put her fingers to her cheeks, making the sign for cry, before giving the grieving mother a comforting hug. The chimp learned to layer the pasta, sauce, and cheese directly onto a heavy-duty foil and wrap it tightly so no water can get inside. Then place the packet on the bottom rack of the dishwasher and start the normal wash cycle, choosing the sanitized settings for extra heat. As the dishwasher runs, the hot water and steam heat up the foil, which slowly cooks the lasagna inside. And once the cycle finishes, you should end up with a dishwasher lasagna that's ready to eat.
Probably put
Layer the pasta.
inside.
He stuffed a note in a bottle and threw it over the waterfall. You see, the family had hiked to the falls and tried to climb down. When you push a wheelbarrow through grass, the wheel will bounce and nearly tip over. But if you push it down the same path again, the grass will start to bend more. Keep repeating it, and the wheel starts to carve a shallow groove into the dirt. Over time, it fits perfectly in that track. It gets so deep that trying to go anywhere else becomes difficult because the wheel keeps falling back into the rut. Your brain works the same way. The first time you check your phone out of boredom, you have to think about it. But repeat it enough times, and you find yourself reaching for your phone on default all of the time, stuck in the rut that you carved for yourself. He dropped the needle onto her eye accidentally, so he took it out and handed her a wet tissue before continuing to do the root canal. But the bacteria from her mouth started growing. If CPR doesn't work, they'll declare you dead. But then the doctor will wait, watching you closely as they time 10 minutes, since you could suddenly gasp for air. Now, nobody knows exactly why why this happens, but some say it's because CPR can overfill your lungs, which could put pressure on your heart. And once they stop and declare you dead, that pressure goes down, allowing your heart to suddenly start beating again, bringing you back from the dead and terrifying the doctor.
Break me.
He stood neck deep in the ocean, waiting as the cold slowed down his heart. But when authorities arrived, they just stood on the shore and watched. They called the Coast Guard, but the boat never arrived. A woman tried to rescue him, but police told her not to. And even when the man collapsed, they did nothing. Finally, a civilian pulled him to shore, but it was too late. The family sued, arguing that authorities should have saved him. They said it wasn't their responsibility to save the man's life, and a judge agreed, throwing the case out. He stood neck deep in the ocean. They grew the brain cells on a
Hi there. In this
He slipped through the bars of a second-floor balcony. His body fell through the gap, but his head got stuck, leaving him hanging in the air. People on the street saw him and rushed to stack nearby chairs into a tower. Then one man climbed up and grabbed the boy's legs, holding his weight to keep his neck from being crushed. For several minutes, he held him up until the boy's grandma got inside the apartment and pulled the toddler back up, completely unharmed.
Good for you.
He slipped. If you shuck it, the knife can slip off the shell and stab you. Instead, fold up a tea towel and wrap your thumb in it. Then lay it on the table and wedge the oyster under your thumb, with the hinge facing out. Push the knife between the shells and twist it to separate them. Then slide the blade around until the lid comes off. Finally, cut the mussel out of the shell and suck it out. But if a grain of sand had found its way into your oyster, it could be covered in a protective layer, which could have turned it into a pearl. So you should always check your oysters before swallowing them. If you shuck it,
Hey, Jessica!
he fell onto the tracks, and the train rolled over his legs, slicing them off. When he recovered, he struggled to work at his railway job, so he bought a baboon and brought it to work. It copied the man by watching him, and whenever the baboon heard the train whistles, it learned to pull the right levers, switching the tracks. After testing it for its skills, the railway officials hired it full-time, paying it 20 cents and half a beer. And for the next 9 years, legend says it never made a single mistake.
No miss.
He fell onto the tracks, and the train rolled. When the roller coaster drops, your intestines float up as the rest of you falls down. And as the ride goes on, you would feel like your organs are moving out of place until you finally come to a stop. You see, your intestines are pretty loosely held inside your body, so when you start to fall, your organs lag behind because they aren't rigidly attached. This creates a split second of near weightlessness, which makes the nerves around them blast signals up to your brain, giving you the feeling around them blast signals up to your brain, giving you the feeling that your stomach has dropped. When the roller coaster drops, you falls down, and as the ride goes on, you would feel like your organs are moving out of place until you finally come to a stop. You see, your intestines are pretty loosely held inside your body, so when you start to fall, your organs lag behind because they aren't rigidly attached. This
Right, let me check something real quick. Wait, what am I doing?
Was sentenced to the death penalty, but he was too fat for the injection to work properly. You see, he had gained over 200 pounds in prison, so instead of just one needle, they might have needed hundreds of them, meaning he would suffer a long, painful death. The governor stepped in to change his sentence. And even though he was given life in prison instead, he ended up dying from health issues 7 months later. Inside, 2 tiny nozzles slide into each ear canal. One sends in a warm stream of cleaning fluid through super tiny holes near the tip. The fluid loosens wax packed deep inside, swirling it into the stream. Then another channel sucks the liquid back out of your ear, pulling the wax with it before the liquid ever reaches the eardrum. A small pump inside the headset keeps the flow steady and controlled, while a vacuum collects the dirty fluid into a sealed reservoir.
I don't... Just go back to normal.
Let's see if I can break the hand.
Boss, what?
You touch something, your atoms align. You won't need a TV.
I'm gonna have to make a tutorial of how to open live chat just for you.
Joe.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to make a tutorial of how to open live chat just for you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to make a tutorial of how.
I'll go back.
Dirty fluid into a sealed. She picked up the wandering turtle and threw it into a pond, thinking she had just saved it. But when she posted the video online, people were outraged. You see, the animal she picked up had flat feet. This meant it was built for walking on land, meaning this wasn't actually a turtle. It was a tortoise. And since a tortoise can't swim like a turtle, well, I'll let you guess what happened. Now, she felt terrible and told everyone the tortoise had crawled back out alive. But since she never posted a video, if you stuck a slice of bread onto a metal pole and dangled it around in a lightning storm, you might think a lightning bolt could toast it perfectly. But the lightning would travel down the pole, charring the bread in less than a second and electrocuting you as well. Now, if you somehow attached a giant pole to a power bank, you could capture some of the energy, which you could then use to power a toaster that could toast over 20,000 slices of bread.
That's basically.
If you stuck a slice of...
Do you want to see your...
He invented a secret salute for his students and made them recite a class motto over and over. Soon, other students got curious and started sneaking into his class, and he handed out membership cards to this secret secret club, but some were marked with an X, meaning they had to snitch on others. Those who questioned the teacher were taken out of the class by guards, but new students kept joining the movement. And by the end of the week, over 200 attended a rally, saluting the teacher while banners hung from the ceiling. But suddenly, a video played with images of Nazis blindly following orders. And the teacher explained that this was all an experiment to show them how easy it is to become a Nazi.
What?
He clipped the actor to a rope in front of a green screen and set up 100 cameras around her. When she jumps, the rope is pulled to hold her weight. At the same time, a button triggers the cameras, causing each one to take a photo in sequence while she kicks the other actor. And when the photos are put together and special effects are added, it looks like a single video, showing a super slow motion kick right to the face. He stacked together the frame out of aluminum and wire before lining it with golden fireworks to build a ladder over 1,000 feet tall. Then he tied the top to a... Claire took the new weight loss pill, excited to finally get rid of her hunger. She celebrated over a pizza dinner with her family, but her plate remained empty. Her appetite had vanished. She finally felt in control. Within just a few days, the weight melted off. But then, the real change started to hit. Pancakes smelled like vomit. Homemade meals made her gag. Even water tasted rotten. She tried to quit the pills, but even after she stopped, her body still reacted like everything was poison. Just the thought of food made her panic. Doctors told her the medication had connected the thought of food with being poisoned. It couldn't be undone, and it was happening to everyone who had taken it. After months of being on a feeding tube, she finally got the news. A second pill had hit the market, offering 24 hours of relief. She cried as she finally enjoyed dinner with her family, and every bite was better than she ever remembered. But within a day, the pharmacies were out of the new medication. People ended up fighting over the pills in the streets. One night, Claire dragged herself to a pharmacy. It was already filled with others like her. Rummaging through the medications scattered on the floor, she grabbed a handful of mixed pills and swallowed, desperately hoping that something in there would bring her hunger back. Claire took the... They fill up the base of the cone, then hold it close to the nozzle to make the first bump. Next, they drop it down until the second bump is formed. And when the soft serve slows down, they flick their wrist while rotating the cone, leaving a curl on top. This started because the old machines accidentally made this curl, and it quickly became part of the Dairy Queen.
Yes, sorry guys. Sorry guys.
Dairy Queen brand, but modern machines don't do it anymore, so the employees make the signature curl by hand. If you pushed the Leaning Tower of Pisa with enough force, could you actually straighten it out? Well, as the tower was being built, one side actually began to sink into the ground. So builders tried to fix it by making the upper floors taller on one side, adding a permanent curve to the top to even out the lopsided base. So if you forced the base upright today, the top would no longer be centered over it. The weight would hang off to the side, and gravity could pull the whole thing down. The dogs would poop in the streets, and soon the city was covered in it. So officials set up special checkpoints, and anyone who handed in poop was given a lottery ticket. Citizens rushed to pick up the poop, collecting over 14,000 bags of it. And when the raffle was drawn, the winner received a bar of real gold, all because she turned in poop. Dogs would Wrap the dry noodles tightly around a pair of chopsticks. Then hold them lifted above a pot of hot oil and carefully spoon that oil over them. This causes the outside strands to fry first, turning the surface stiff and crisp. As you keep spooning more oil, more strands harden and lock together, fusing into one rigid shell. Then let it cool and the noodles should hold their shape. Wrap the dry noodles tightly around a pair of chopsticks. Then hold them. As he strummed, he used his right foot to press the frets and change the chords. You see, he was born without arms, but when he was a kid, his dad found an old guitar. He brought it home for him to use, and he learned how to use his feet to play. He started performing at the local park, and his story went viral. And soon enough, the man who played with his feet was playing for crowds around the world. They would wave branches beside the car while giant lamps light it inside the studio, making shadows that look like trees passing by. And fans are aimed into the open windows to blow the actor's hair like the wind. Two people rock the car back and forth, and behind it, a giant LED screen plays a video of the road. So when you look through the camera, it seems like the car is actually driving. It would wave branches beside the car while giant... As you play scissors, a high-speed camera films your hand, watching for tiny changes in your fingers. As soon as they begin to form the shape, a computer program signals to the robot to play rock, and the hand forms its own move, all within a split second. But since it's way too fast for the human eye, it looks like you're playing at the same time. So, no matter what you play or how fast you move, the robot will win every single. The trigger is pulled, the bullet is fired, and the casing expands, which traps it inside the chamber. So, a hook-shaped piece of metal is attached to the bolt. And when the bolt is pushed forward, this hook slides under the casing, catching onto a special groove at the end. As it pulls back, it brings the casing with it, but it can't stay inside the gun, which is where this spring-loaded arm comes in handy, clearing the gun for the next round. The trigger is pulled, the bullet is fired, and the casing expands, which traps it inside the chamber. So, a hook-shaped piece of metal is attached to the bolt. And when the bolt is pushed forward, this hook slides under the casing, catching onto. They would test the game over and over as they created it, but passing each level would take too long during these tests. So they would add special codes, and pressing certain button combinations gave them a bunch of power-ups, testing difficult levels without having to struggle the whole time. But when the game was released, those codes were still written in, meaning if a player discovered them, they could cheat. Eventually, developers added them on purpose, which is why you can call a certain number in GTA and suddenly get a free helicopter.
Yeah, bye guys. 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 Bye guys.